All right, players. So we back. Guess what is this, the fourth episode? Fourth episode,
Yeah,
right?
we're rolling them out. 4 episodes in already.
And we just signed up for Zoom Pro. So we so we can cook on this with no more 30-minute, 40-minute
No
episodes.
longer
Okay.
podcasting on a budget over here, y'all.
Yeah, we got that
Got money, and you know it.
yeah, so we gonna continue with God damn it, like what were we talking about?
uh, we were talking about men in society.
Oh yeah. About how we just kind of don't raise men right.
Yeah.
So basically, what I was getting at with that one is like too often in society, we're taught men to cage up their emotions, and just like I said, they're only allowed to show certain emotions if it's like anger or lust or whatever. And so what ends up happening is, even though we only teach them to do that, they experience all the other emotions. So what happens
Yep.
is they become emotionally stunted. So they don't know how to deal with heartbreak, rejection, disappointment, stuff like that. So that's why you get a lot of the men that we get, and then they become adults, and then, like I said, they go on to terrorize women and shit like that. Or just to be honest, mostly they terrorize other men. Like they don't just terrorize other women; they terrorize
Well,
us different.
that's true, but there's a lot of weak men out there that, if a man steps to them, they're gonna fold real quick. But
Yeah,
they'll beat on women,
yeah,
all they like. They'll never
yeah,
step to another man. I mean, I'm not saying all, but I know some. I know
yeah,
some niggas like that.
yeah. So yeah, definitely not all, but you know, so it regardless, it's problematic. So we need to raise men differently and raise men that it's okay. Like, there's a saying that like I heard where a kid, was doing on Twitter, and he was telling a story about how, when he was young, he fell and he skinned his knee on his bike, and he was laying on the ground crying. His dad was like, "Hey, you can, cry standing up." And then
Mm-hmm.
the mother was like, "Oh, don't tell him not to cry." He's like, "Oh, I'm not telling him not to cry, but cry standing up. Don't lay there and cry." And it was a good
Yeah,
lesson in that moment. Like, hey, man, sometimes, yeah, maybe you might not want to wallow and shit. You can experience the emotion, but work through the emotion. Like,
yeah, that's fair. I like that.
so, I like that. Yeah, I like that too. So it's just like, yeah, man, cry stand up, cry moving forward. You know what I mean? But we can teach men like that. But most of the time, people like, you skin your knee, you're gonna get hit or something for just crying. Like, hey, stop crying. What are you crying for? Like, it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, like, teach them it's okay. Like, it, it, yeah, you shouldn't always cry over everything, but hey, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be happy for somebody. It's okay to be sad about something. It's fine. It's okay to see a kitten die in a movie or something and be sad about it. It don't make you less of a
yeah,
man. You know what I mean? So I do think we need to raise a better quality of women, or sorry, men. But we got to identify what we're doing wrong with them.
yeah.
And
I mean, we know what's being done wrong. It's the fact of the matter is how quickly is our generation going to start raising our young men better.
mhm,
I think that's a little bit like, we talk about some of the progressive things that have happened with our generation. I still don't think our generation is doing the best job raising these men because they're still going out there, terrorizing. Like it's not
mhm.
getting any better at this point.
Yeah, it's it's actually getting worse. Um, I can get real deep into like why I think that is. You know what I mean? Particularly for this country, um, we've raised men to be like real cold and emotionless because, frankly, that's how they conquered this land here. Is you have to raise them to be cold to go out. Like you got to be a cold motherfucker to go out and do what some of the shit they did to the natives and to the slaves. You got to be a cold motherfucker to beat the shit out of a man the way you do that, or to kill people in the manner that you do, and to wage war in the way that we wage war in this country. So it's useful, or it's been useful, but we gotta kind of change that, because it's just like, well, what happens when they're not at war? You know, they're here. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot deeper than that. But like I said, for this episode, I don't really want to like get that deep. But we just gotta raise that better quality of men. You know, you gotta look at it. You can't look at like be older and look at, oh man, why are these dudes assholes? You know, because women to do that, they'd be on TikTok or something, and just, why are these men assholes? But they never look at like how we raise men any differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, like, it starts right there, right? You know what I mean? So we gotta do that. You know what I mean? So I think, it's a big problem. But men ultimately, like, it ain't women's fault or women's job to fix us. We gotta really have these conversations and like fix ourselves. You know what I mean?
Like, you have to do the work. No one else can do it for you. You just help guide you, help be there for you, but it's internal. No one can do that work for you.
And just not pass on that trauma. We do too much of like, oh hey, well, I got hit and I turned out fine. And it's like, well, no, you didn't. Like, some of you niggas saying you ain't fine, you ain't all right. You know, like, you just function. Like you're like a functional crackhead. Like but so we got to really identify this shit and just, I mean, let's be real. A lot of these feminists, especially a lot of these, and I hate using that word because it's used in such a dirty way, but let me rephrase it. A lot of these women online who are complaining about men and shit like that. And, a lot of this shit can come off annoying, but it has a lot of merit to it. And a lot of it is right. You know what I mean? When you stop and think about it and stop trying to like argue or war with everybody, you sort of like, we're like, man, like, yeah, these women do got a point. Like, if we just stop the fight, we like stop the fighting and realize or see some of the shit that we see other men do, you can be like, man, like, that probably happened to at least half of women minimally, like just like, here's some sad shit, bruh. Like just how fucked up men are. Every single one of my coworkers right now have a full-time job, besides one, has been drugged at one moment. Like, got drugged, and we know somebody that got drugged and shit like that. And it's just like, and just all the countless shit we just done seen at parties, just fucked up shit, and in the club, and you're just like, man, that's probably happened to a lot of women. Like, you just gotta see, like, they got a lot of merit in what they say about why they're distrustful of us, and so that's where I get, like, I don't get into like the argument, and the fighting back and forth. Like, I sort of get it, like, when they're talking about men, the group, they're not per se talking about all of us, but it is true about the group. So it's just like, but we got to fix ourselves, and we got to hold ourselves, the group, accountable, and just say, hey, man, yeah, a lot of this shit ain't right. You know what I mean? But it start with like, we got to tell some dudes, like, man, you need help, bro. Like, you gotta, but whatever, man. It's gonna take a lot of work. Like you said, it's not gonna happen overnight, but we got it. We can't want to sit here and say we're the leaders of society, but then not identify problems and come up with solutions to solve them. I don't think men are all bad, and I don't think a lot of these women are like per se saying that, but we're fucked up in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we gotta stop. Like, sometimes you gotta stop defending yourself, and just really like make the changes that we need to make.
Yeah, people hate accountability.
men say women do it, but it's like, nah, y'all, we be doing this shit too, just on different shit. You know what I mean? Especially when it
Yes.
comes to dealing with them. We hate accountability when it comes to dealing with them. Like
Yeah.
when they try to hold us accountable for shit, it's not all of a sudden we turn from the logical, women are more emotional, men are more logical. We turn illogical real fucking quick.
Yeah. Somebody brought up a good point. They're basically saying, like, it's kind of false when the narrative that is that women are more emotional, because when a man and a woman are fighting, who's more likely to get killed.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally 9 to 10 times more. A woman's more likely to be killed. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, at least if a woman's emotional, she's not, for the most part. I mean, obviously it happens, but she's not trying to kill you or beat the shit out of you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say some fucking evil, hateful, ruthless shit.
Shit.
Man,
Yeah.
women, I've had girls say some evil shit to me, and I never put hands on them, but like, damn, like,
Mm-hmm.
I understand.
You
I'm
seen
not
it. You seen
condoning
it.
it in any way, shape, or form, but like, I can
Yeah.
comprehend how one thing led to another, some of these situations. But at the end of the day, none of that matters, because we're not the ones out here getting murdered,
Mm-hmm.
over having these arguments. So it's pretty
Yeah.
obvious who the more emotional uh sex is.
Yeah. Um they say sticks and stones, they don't, words never hurt me. They hurt you, but I mean, yeah, getting your ass whooped or getting killed hurts more. So it's
Yeah.
like, you know,
It's just
who,
that women's emotions, they actually wear it on their sleeves, whereas you just said earlier, men are taught to bottle up their emotions. So it's not that men are not emotional. It's just you're not dealing with how you're feeling.
yeah,
So once that shit comes out,
mm-hmm,
it could be the stupidest reason, dumbest reason. You just blow up and just ruin everybody's life, your whole family's life, because of you weren't
yeah,
dealing with the shit that's been going on all these years. And you just blew up on someone.
exactly. I think here's another thing. I think, like, we can help women. I think women can do to help is what I've noticed is women aren't taught per se to listen to certain emotions that men have. Because sometimes, like, my wife would just be, like she'd be like mad about something, and I'd be trying to like give her, like solutions or something, and she's just like, and it makes her more mad, and I'm just like, dude, like why are you more mad? She's just like, sometimes she's like, I don't want you to give me a solution, I just want you to listen to me, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, yeah, I get that. I'm like, sometimes too, we just need you to listen to us too, and like, so we can work through what we're feeling. But like sometimes like women just don't want to do that. Like, and you'll see it on TikTok to where women, they even be like, oh yeah, women that flat out say like, oh, he came home and he was crying over something, and I was just less attracted to him. And it's just like, oh wow, like, but then you
Yeah,
wonder
it's
why,
fucked up.
and it's definitely not all women, but I just, for the women it applies to, it's just like, hey man, apply some of that to him too. Sometimes he needs to work through other emotions, and sometimes things make him sad too, and it's not healthy for him to bottle it up. So be willing to listen to it when those emotions come out, and be willing to hear him and let him talk to you in honesty. Like, you know, especially black men, we gotta like put on like a facade all the time, and it's just like we're never able to really be vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're not, we're looked at as problems before we're looked at as people a lot of times, and it's just like you got to be willing to like to deal with that vulnerability. And I think sometimes women aren't taught that. You know what I mean? Like, we're taught
Yeah,
as
they're
a
often not.
society. Yeah, we're taught as a society how men should be. And if you want change, you really got to rethink certain ideas that you've taken as truth, and just be like, man, is this really helping? Or what effect is this really having on me personally, but as a society, you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
just really think we should think a little bit more critically about that, because it's just like, yeah, allow that man to be vulnerable with you and trust you, and that just don't go for women, that go for your friends, like I remember like I said, like that's why I feel lucky to have had like, you know, that we had the friend group we have, because yeah, we can be toxic, but we're not like toxic like that. You know what I mean? And I remember one time, yeah, I was with Ronnie, and yeah, like things didn't work out with this girl like I really liked, and like dude, like this to be honest, I was
Yeah.
really heartbroken about it. And like we had like this song that um we would say a part of the song to each other, you know? And like that song that came on, like me and Ronnie were somewhere, and I was just like, damn, you know, this was our song. And he was just like, man, forget her, man, stop. And I was like, nah, for real, man. Like I really liked her. And he was like, oh. And like he just stopped, and he was just like, oh, damn, dude. Um, so what happened? And like he just talked to me about it, like real shit. So like, you know, I'm glad like I could have like, yeah, shared that moment. Like, hey, dog, like, you know, I'm fucking heartbroken. And just not be judged by my homeboy, you know? And I
Yeah.
think like, yeah, other men, we gotta just, hey, you know, let people work through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Shout out to Ronnie. A lot of niggas wouldn't have been able to do that. They don't have the
Yeah,
emotional maturity for that type of conversation.
yeah, yeah. He instantly like that's all I had to say was just like, nah, for real. You know, like, and he just looked at like he got it. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh nah, you know, like, and it was yeah, it was a good moment. You know, like, but like seriously, with ourselves and shit, like we gotta be able to like we do too much like with if men share those type of situations with each other to just call them gay or something. You know what I mean? It's just like, nah,
You know?
it's nah, I'm straight. You know what I mean? If I was gay, then you know whatever, I'm gay. I was gay. You know, like whatever, I still be the same person. No matter. But
Yeah.
like, um, it's like nah, you know, we spend a lot of time with other men, and we can be extremely toxic to each other. You know, and you know, we're taught to do that. And sometimes, yeah, it can be bonding, but sometimes it's uncalled for. And we gotta like, you know, we can't put that, oh, we gotta raise better men squarely on women. It ain't women's fault. It ain't all, you know, women, we all contribute to it, but online we too much act like, oh, you know, men are men are, you know, like how I brought up that article that came out that said, hey man, this is the generation of lonely single ass men. This is the biggest group of men who are virgins past 25, you know, and you know, this is the biggest group of just lonely ass single ass men. And yeah, a lot of women are single, but they're not lonely. And part of the reason too, like that people overshadowed on that you know, on that study was, you know, like people focused on that men don't have girlfriends and shit like that. But
Hmm.
it's like, nah, a lot of these dudes reported not even having friends, you know, not even having like a close friend. So it's not like they're just not creating relationships with women. They don't really have the capacity to compare relationships with like to create relationships with other men. So it's problematic, you know, because we are extremely toxic to each other. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
that's where the term toxic masculinity came from. It was in the 90s. It was just like it had nothing to do with like men treating women per se. That was sort of part of it, but it was more like, hey, men treat each other men like competitors and not comrades. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they go right back to where I'm saying, like, hey, I'm glad we did have the friend group we had, because we didn't like, you know, a whole neighborhood of people who just, you know, yeah, we grew up on like different streets, and you know, we didn't interact with each other at first, but as we got older, we just kind of came together like Voltron and shit, and just fucking, you know,
Facts.
created a group of like 25 fucking dudes. You know, it's a little bit less now because people branched out, but we're all still for the most part cool, that we're just, you know, not extremely toxic to each other. Like, you know, when Golden passed away, I cried like a fucking baby. It never felt like I was gonna be judged by any of my friends who were there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, just shit like that. Like it was just, it was special. You know what I mean? Like, and it was needed. You know, and I look back on it like it was really needed for me, for like part of my maturity. Like I think for all of us. You know what I mean? Like, and I just really wish. most men would understand that. And, you know, like realize that that's sort of important. That, you know, if you can't create friendships, you can't create a relationship with a woman. I ain't never met a
Yeah.
person who's toxic to other men, but ain't toxic to his female. No, if you're toxic to other men, you're toxic. Like, and it brings up, you know, like, yeah, I'm ranting a little bit, but it brings up like, probably never heard of this guy. Um, his name is Steven Crowder. He's like this conservative, like he used to be a comedian, and he became like a political pundit. This dude is like really like, he's just like one of those people who will, you know, call gay dudes the F word and shit like that. He just like was that kind of comedy. He was like really like sort of like not funny. He wasn't like funny, like his
More
jokes weren't really
offensive than
funny.
funny,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I know those types.
He sacrifices like, oh, you know, like he just says really shocking shit and people find it funny. And like this camera, he recently got divorced from his wife, and then like this video came out of like him interacting with his wife one day, and he was just being extremely toxic to her. I'm not going to get into the details, but he was just being extremely toxic. I'm like, why are y'all so surprised? Like, look how fucking toxic he is to everybody else. You just thought he was going to go home and be fucking Ward Cleaver and shit. You know what I mean? Like, I knew this nigga was toxic to his wife. Like, I was surprised, you know, like, look at this dude, you know? So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a connection there. That's just my telling my story. It's like, dude, there's a connection. Like, I ain't never met a dude that's toxic like that and just like, oh, you know, yeah, he's gonna be the perfect husband. You didn't thought like, you know, yeah, he's gonna be a good ass husband. You know, he may be a complete d bag at work, but he probably goes home and is nice to his wife. You know,
Yeah, that
so
makes sense.
it's just all that shit. All that shit's important, you know, because it all comes into who you are. So, you know, like, yeah, dude, I just really think we do need to raise a better caliber of men, but I think the bigger burden falls on men to create that and not women. We just blame women, you know. But
I would disagree with that, because if you're born into a society that is literally, in a sense, catered to raising toxic males, I mean,
mhm.
unknowingly in a sense, but not like, you're kind of a product of your environment. Like, I'm not saying men have zero accountability, or they should, but you know, you're gonna always be a product of your environment. So if every man is basically raised the same as we're speaking, or we have to eventually at some point learn to grow, deal with our trauma, and become better men, and knowing that it's fucking difficult, and some men refuse to do that. Like, it
Mm.
makes sense to me that
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, but where I say it's men's fault, who set up this society? Who has all the power? Not like men like us, but it's men.
Yeah,
Men shape the society, and who created these rules that men should be doing this? It wasn't women. Women do uphold it also, so women play a part, but who created it? You can't sit here and, because these Kevin Samuels followers are all, oh, men built this society, men, you know, do this, men do that, and men built the roads, and men do this. But then, okay, if men did all that, then we're accountable for the shitty men. You know, like, you can't, like I said, we're escaping accountability. You know, like, hey, if you the leader, then be the leader. Then, you know, and that's in, you know, a little bit of a tangent, but it goes into like why a lot of workplaces are shitty, you know, is because management has all the power to create all the rules and shit like that. If it's not, you know, upper management and mid-level management, they have all the power, but when shit fucks up, they blame the workers and not
yeah,
their ideas. You know, so a lot of people are just like, man, it's just shitty. In society, we do the same thing. Men set all the rules, and then when the shit don't work, say, man, you know what the problem is? Feminism. You know, like, nah,
yeah.
it's the rule set that you uphold. You know, you're just mad because they're just not shutting up and being quiet about it anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I agree with that aspect, but the way I look at it as is, you know, men that grew up like us, what could we have possibly done different to not grow up the way we did? There's, you know, it wasn't our fault. We were innocent
yeah,
in that aspect.
yeah,
But
we
I
were,
understand the broader picture of men,
yeah,
you know, creating this fucked up system, fucked up society.
mhm.
I mean, what could we have done different? That's my point about that.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. And I have to remember, like, I'm a sociology major, so I grew in, like, when I say like men, I'm talking about the group. And a lot of times what's true about the group isn't true about every individual of the group. Like an example they use is like, you could say Texas has a lot of cowboys. Texas is known for having cowboys. Don't mean every dude from Texas is a cowboy. Don't mean you can even assume they're a cowboy. So both things are true, but you can't look at it from an individual level. So am I blaming like men individually, like every individual man? Nah, but the group, yes. So
Yeah, I
that's
can
the
get down with
framework.
that.
That's the framework like I'm putting it in. So when I say like men, women, I'm speaking towards the group, but not every individual in the group, because yeah, a lot of women don't uphold patriarchy. A lot of women don't uphold this shit, but a lot of us do. And a lot of us do unknowingly to the effects of what it's causing. And that's where the term conscious and woke came from. It's like, hey, once you become conscious of something and how it's affecting you, you got to change it or you got to fix it. Once you become woke, like, oh shit, I'm woke. I'm woke to how, racism, systematic racism works. I'm woke to this, or I'm woke to, damn, maybe these feminists have a point. So it's just been like kind of bastardized and like they're making the word really dirty now. But
Yeah.
that's where it's coming from. Like, I'm just saying, like, hey, we need to be aware that, oh dude, if we hit our children, like how we talked about last episode, it can lead to A, B, C, D, and E. I'm conscious of that. So now I gotta make better decisions. You know what I mean? It's like, and so I just think we as men on an individual level gotta fix what we do. It's like we're only really responsible for the circle of people around us and the ones who we can reach. And so we got to take responsibility for that. But if everybody did that, then you can change the world. You know what I mean? So I just think we gotta like I said, stop fighting, and with women, and like really listen to them. Like,
Yeah.
and like we can defend ourselves, but we don't always have to. Sometimes you just have to, say you're wrong. Like, hey man, yeah, maybe we're a little wrong in this. You know what I mean? And women on the other hand too. And I know it sucks because these men, they harm you, but you got to have some compassion towards them too, because a lot of us were never taught to process our emotions or how to. A lot of us, like when we speak to women in public, like to get at them, we were never taught how to do that shit. Nobody teaches you how, to approach a woman. So if we do it kind of creepily, or creepily, I don't know. Fuck it. If we come off like a creep, then maybe we're not trying to. A lot of times, like, yeah, you can say something like, man, yeah, we just don't know. We're figuring this shit out. You know what I mean? So
I feel that.
we gotta have a little bit of, like I said, it's hard, but for them, and I get it, it's like, we sometimes have to do it for white people. You know what I mean? Racist ass white people. Like, it's hard because, like I said, they harm you, but we gotta do a little bit of the work too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's where, like, this whole, that's why I don't buy into, like, that's where I stopped buying into Kevin Samuels and shit like that. Because he made some good points on a lot of things, but it just got overshadowed with the bullshit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then just to kind of go back a little bit, we were talking about toxic parents on the last episode. And then we're kind of, from the last episode to this one, we're talking about like society with males. I want to bring up that one topic I had told you about. This is something that I haven't seen a lot of podcasts or just people talk about in general. It's something that's called emotional incest. It's when the most common one is between a mom and her son, where like it's normally the mother's fault, like more times than not, where like maybe it's a single mom and she treats her son as she would treat her partner, like nothing sexual at all, just emotionally now is what I'm talking about. Like,
Mhm.
so it creates an improper relationship between a mother and son to the point where like the son starts bringing girls around and the mom just hates all of them, doesn't want to get to know any of them, sabotages relationships,
Mhm.
sabotages friendships. She's basically acting like a jealous girlfriend.
Mhm.
And that also kind of goes back to, you know, society with men. And a lot of men, that's their mom, you know,
Mhm.
and they kind of let their mom just say and do whatever she wants, you know, with the women he brings around. Um,
Mhm.
one of my friends, she was telling me that like she's got a house with her husband. Mother-in-law was always a bitch, but whatever. She loved her husband, and they had a baby. She came over to clean one day. She's like, "Oh, you know, taking care of the, you know, you guys taking care of the baby. I'm gonna come over and help, you know, cook." And so she cleans the house, but she goes into the kitchen and she rearranges everything. She takes stuff out of the cupboards, moves it over here, moves it like that, and the way she thinks is most efficient. And like the wife is like, "Hey, like this is my kitchen, this is my home, you know, I want everything this way." And then the husband is like, "Oh, well, I mean, it's like more efficient this way." And it's like, it's not that big of a deal, but like you should be on your wife's side in this situation and like
Mhm.
check your mom, like, "Hey, like this is our home, like this is her kitchen. Like I appreciate you coming over to help.
Mhm.
Like you can't just come over here and, you know, move your weight around and feel like you can just rearrange your stuff like that." But like I was saying earlier, a lot of men aren't going to stand up to their mom like that. And
Mhm.
so this is where the, you know, emotional incest type of relationship occurs. And it's fucked up. It is. It's the son's fault. I mean,
Mhm.
and it's his responsibility to check his mom when the mom is out of line, you know.
Mhm.
But a lot of men, that's really difficult,
Yeah, and they've
you
been
know.
raised to, especially in the black community, we sort of like, the mom is sort of number one,
Mhm.
like, and it is improper, like I seen one to where, um, like, I guess, they were going somewhere, they were out in public, maybe at a restaurant or something. And then like, so the good dude was pulling the car around and then, he's with his wife and his mom. And his mom gets in the front seat and then wants the wife to sit in the back. And then it's just like, oh, I'm not gonna put my mom in the back and this is that. It's like, nah, that front seat, like, that's your wife's spot, homie. Like, and but like you said, but he's probably been raised in one of these relationships, like you said, like to where it was a level of emotional incest, to where his
Yeah.
mom just treated him like like his man, like her man, and shit like that. And it was just improper. And there was a dude on TikTok who was going around talking about that, about how his mom, when he was younger, would like make him rub her feet and shit like that, and do all this shit when she came home from work, and how like just that was improper. Like he was it was problematic because he would just blame all black women, but it was just like, nah, that was just your mom. But like that shit does happen a lot, and it's it is problematic. Or they sexualize their sons and daughters and shit. Like it's weird, like
Yeah.
I remember a friend, like when we found out, oh, when me and Jackie found out we were having a girl, he was just like, oh, see, I got boys. See, I only got to worry about one dick. You got to worry about all the dicks. I'm like, oh wow, my daughter's not even born yet. I got to worry about who's fucking her already. Like, why are you worried about it? Like that's kind of
Yeah.
weird that like you've already sexualized her, or you'll see some pictures of like a little boy, or like somebody posted pictures of their son, or like, oh, he gonna be a lady killer. And it's just like, oh wow, why are you
Mhm.
sexualizing this kid already? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's problematic. Like, you know like stop doing that shit,
Yeah.
and
And then um I've actually had a situation that I was in. I was actually at it's kind of a funny story. It's a deep conversation, but it's kind of a funny story. I was at um Matt and Josh's house, the house they had in Paris.
Hmm.
They had a party over there, and like there's this girl that I was kind of like dancing with, talking to, like drinking with, like being flirty with or whatever. And like I didn't notice it at first, but she came with this dude, and like he kept like kind of interrupting us and like, oh, come with me over here, get a drink, or just little subtle shit like that. I didn't think anything of it. After like the third or fourth time, I'm like, all right, yeah, he's kind of doing this on purpose. And so I had asked, and I was like, is that your boyfriend? And she's like, no, that's my cousin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like, why is he acting like this? Why is he always like trying to get you away from me? She's like, oh, he's just overprotective. And like, there's a big difference between being overprotective of your cousin, sister, sibling, anything like that. And then there's you trying to get in the way, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so I picked up on that. I didn't think much of it. And then like, he said something slick to me. I forget what he said, but I just started roasting the shit out of him.
Hmm.
And he started getting mad and like getting a little aggressive. And I was just like, I don't know what you're getting mad for. Like, I'm just over here trying to fuck your cousin because I knew he was going to get triggered. And then he went ballistic. Like he's trying to move past everybody. He's trying to come and fight me. And he's like, no, nobody's going to fuck my cousin. I don't care if she's a slut. No one's fucking my cousin tonight. And I was like, what, but you?
Yeah, it's kind of
Oh,
weird.
he got so fucking pissed. He went to the kitchen. He freaking grabbed like the chef knife out of the fucking thing. He comes back with the knife. And like the only thing that I had was like I was by the couch, so I picked up a pillow, like just in case he lunged at me. I had something like between him and the knife, or me and the knife, and then like start holding him back, and he's trying to get to me, and then I said something. I forget exactly what I said, but I said something along the lines of, and someone's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, oh, he's just mad 'cause I'm trying to fuck his cousin, but apparently he's trying to fuck her too. And
Mhm.
yeah, he just wasn't having it. He was really trying to come over there and cut me over this girl. And
Yeah,
I didn't have the knowledge back then to understand, emotional incest. So it was just like, damn, dude, you're
yeah.
a fucking creep. You want to fuck your cousin, obviously. Like you get jealous when she's talking to other dudes, and you don't want no
Mhm.
one talking to her. You don't want no one messing around with her.
Yeah,
And that's fucking weird. But now that I like read articles about it, and I was like, damn, like I've kind of experienced that before. Because
yeah.
like me, when I'm out with like my female cousins or friends or anyone, like my friends, sisters, stuff like that, I look out for them. Like if I see them go to get a drink by themselves or something like that, I'll just watch. If I see a guy come talk to him, I'll just sit there and observe from afar, see what the
Mhm.
body language is like. If she's kind of like moving back, stuff like that, then I'll just, walk over there and like, just say something to her like, hey, like we're gonna be over here, something subtle. But if she's like flirting back, then I'm like, okay, fuck it. It's her fucking business. She's a grown woman. So I never understood that situation until, I started seeing like more posts and articles about that recently.
Yeah.
Because and then the father and daughter, that that's another one that's common, and
Hmm.
that one's a lot different
Hmm.
than the mother and son one.
We kind of normalize that father and daughter one. Like we play it off. Like like a prime example of like a scene like that, like in a movie, is Bad Boys 2. Remember when the dude was coming to take out Martin Lawrence's daughter and shit like that, and then Will Smith, oh yeah, like they're acting all crazy and shit. Remember that
I don't
scene?
remember.
We're
I haven't
seeing,
seen
and
the
then
movie in so
and
long.
Will Smith was acting like he was drunk, and I remember he was like, "Hey, you a virgin?" He's like,
Oh, when the
"Yeah,
dude
you
came
better
up to
stay
the
one."
door, the ludicrous
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
motherfucker.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
He's like, "Man, you a
I thought
virgin?"
you were
He's
talking
like,
about
"You better stay
somebody
one." He's like,
else.
"Hey, man, you ever slept with a man? You want to?" Like, it's like shit like
Yeah,
that. It's like, why are you sitting here like you gonna let your daughter go on a date, but you're gonna be that overly concerned to scare the shit out the dude if
yeah.
she decides to have sex with him and shit like that? And it's just like, yeah, you got to protect your daughter against like men and all that, but it's kind of weird that you're that concerned about fucking you know, her having sex or something like that. Or like, I saw one and it was highly inappropriate too. Like, I would have been pissed too. Like, another example, I remember it was like a prom picture. And like dudes would do that, you know, now, like it's a prom picture. It's like, you know, he'd be standing with his daughter with a gun, you know, like, oh, you know, like, you know, like, oh,
Yeah.
I saw one where like the dude, like the prom date came, he's like pointing the gun at, he's like taking a picture with him, he's like pointing the gun at him. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
inappropriate because you put. I was like, yeah, I'd have been pissed too. I'd have been over there, like, just to be honest, like some violence might have happened if that was my son. You know, hey, dog, don't ever point a gun at my son again. And like, but you know, just like that shit's kind of weird because it's like, damn, dog, you're really like overly concerned. Like somebody like Louis C.K. of all people, you know, the person who got caught
Hmm.
being a fucking perv pointed that out in one of his stand-ups too. Like, and he was like talking about how he was talking with one of his friends, and his friend's like, "Oh man, my daughter's going to prom. Like, dude, she's gonna have sex. What do I do?" And he's like, "Well, you don't
Hmm.
do nothing." Like, you know, like, I mean, that don't involve you. You know, like,
Yeah.
it is just like weird, you know, like, and it's like you said, like, I think it's just sort of a form of like emotional incest and shit like that. Like, you really are like, you know, among other things, don't get me wrong, but you really are like overly sort of like involved or concerned with that shit, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's funny, like a lot of those fathers that are like that, it's kind of similar to the way they would treat a spouse. Like they treat them like an object, you know?
mm-hmm.
Like I remember I think it was T.I. where he was having his daughter's hymen checked like once a month or some bullshit like that. And
Yeah,
it's
that
like,
was weird as fuck.
that's fucking weird. Like that's so uncomfortable. I feel so bad for that girl. And then like
Yeah.
that's like, why are you even thinking of your daughter in that way? Like,
Mm-hmm. Turns out that nigga got you know, he got accused of being doing some weird shit too.
oh,
It's
I
just
didn't
like,
know
dang,
about that.
yeah, him and his wife were having threesomes and shit with people. From what they were saying, some women came out.
But yeah,
And
like it's really normalized. It's something that's not really talked about because it can be so subtle that
mm-hmm,
like, oh, you know, she just really loves her son or he just really loves her daughter, and
exactly.
it's like that's perfectly fine. But like your actions are like you're emotionally attached to them as if they're your spouse or your partner. Like you don't treat that person like that, especially
Mm-hmm,
like your daughter or your son. And like, I don't know how that ends up happening with like siblings and cousins
mm-hmm,
and shit like that. Like,
mm-hmm.
but
Yeah,
I don't know. Some people
it does.
they just
Yeah.
get so possessive over people
Mm-hmm,
they love that it becomes an unhealthy situation. And sometimes the other person doesn't even realize it. They just
mm-hmm.
think they're just really loved.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're not loved, it's just that that type of relationship is just extremely toxic and unhealthy, and it's not talked about a lot at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, dude, like, yeah, we hit on a lot of shit about that. You know what I mean? But it's just, yeah, man, we gotta do our best to try to move the needle. And it just sucks that people communicate so much over social media, and social media ain't really the platform that we should be doing it. You know, it's optimized to get you hooked, and it's optimized for drama essentially because that gets the most engagement. So everything turns into a fucking argument, and we don't need any more arguments. We need conversations. You know, there's friends like one friend, like, you know, I want to have them on the podcast, you know, because I want to start promoting, you know, black businesses and shit like that. He has one and shit like that, but it's just like, dude, like, and he even gets it. Like, he argues a lot. He's like, sometimes I just fight just to fight, and I'm just like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a good trait, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, sometimes you don't need to argue with somebody. Sometimes you need to just have a conversation. I remember I was on TikTok and like I had stitched this kid's video, and I just was responding to something he said in the video, not per se responding to him. I was just like, hey, he brought up like, you know, a certain point, and then this kid responds to me, and he's just like, he makes he stitches my video and responds like I was countering his video, like, I don't know what your point of making my video was, and I even explained it to him, like, I wasn't like saying anything against your video or against the point, your overall point. I was just responding to that certain aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then still he stitches the video again. He's still like, oh, like being argumentative. And I'm like, look, bro, I can't. Look. All right, fine. You win. Like, and it goes to like, damn, dog, like social media has, turned a lot of us into fucking D-bags. I'm like now, like, because he was a young dude, I was like, now I see why a lot of women don't want to fuck you. Like, don't want to fuck your, like, your generation. Because here's the thing, like, we were talking about this, me and Trey, about what you're starting, like, and you see it around a lot. Like, if you see, like, and you're kind of an example, like, if you see a lot of the women who are fucking, like, in their 20s right now, they're fucking with older men. And I was like, that's so true. I was like, every single woman who I work with at my full-time job, every single one of them besides one is either married or is dating an older dude than them. And the same thing at my part-time job. Like, every single woman is dating an older dude who's in their 20s is dating other dudes. I'm like, somewhere closer to our age. And I'm just like, damn, that's kind of messed up. Y'all, like, we fucked the 20-year-olds of our generation. Now we fucking the 20-year-olds of your generation.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucked up,
Good
bro.
time to be alive, baby.
Yeah, like, and I'm like, on some level, like, I get it, bro. Because I'm looking at this kid, like, I'm sitting here trying to communicate to you, bro. I'm not arguing with you, man. But you can't just not argue with me. It just, you have to be just like, this kid was being an ass for no reason. Like, yeah. I was like, and these kids, like I said, like, my other jobs at, like, I'm a cashier, and it's just like, dude, some of these young kids, they're like, you can't have, like, you're ringing people shit up and you're trying to just have, like, cordial conversations, awkward. And, like, I remember this kid came in and, like, I was just trying to make a little joke with him. He was buying we have those marijuana tests, so you can pee on it and it'll tell you if you're going to come up positive. I was like, there's only two reasons you really want this right here, bro. Like, I was like, it's either you on probation or you got to get a job. Like, you got a job. Piss test coming up. His friend, like, laughed. He's like, man. And then, like, the dude who was by, he's like, man, dude, you got all, like, butthurt about it for some reason. And he was just like, man, this is my little brother, man. Come on, man. And he was just like, all stupid about it. And then, like, I rang him up. He only bought like a couple things. I rang him up, and then, like, he pulled out a bunch of, like, he did have a lot of money. I almost gave the dude $100. And it's like, oh wow, nigga, like, you got $500 on you, like, nigga, like, I got a bank account, nigga, I don't carry cash on me, my nigga, like, like, you're cool.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, no wonder, like, y'all walking into alone and no bitches, like, you're a dick, like, I understand, because we were younger and we were, we were arrogant in a lot of ways, but, like, we didn't cross that line, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it was just
because when we grew up, if you talk to somebody sideways, you're gonna get popped in the mouth.
Yeah, you better be ready to face it.
If you wasn't ready to square up, you didn't pop out the side of your mouth. But these
now
young niggas, they spend so much time on the internet talking that shit, bumping their gums. Nothing happens to them. So outside, they're kind of the same way. Then they get surprised when they get popped in the mouth finally.
Yeah.
Every single time I've ever been hit, I expected it.
Yeah.
I was either talking shit or I was fighting. And I actually, one time I did get sucker punched, but I don't know if we should talk about that another time.
Yeah.
Remember that time in Vegas?
Yeah, I remember that.
That's the only time in my entire life where I got sucker punched and I didn't see it coming. He should have been mad at
his girl. Because, like, that was some sucker shit. Like, if she was gonna flat out disrespect you in the club like that and dance with some other dude and knew she was there with you, you should have been mad at her. How are you gonna be mad at you? Some shit I wouldn't expect it either. Because it's like I said, that was during our time. Like, and that was some suck ass shit. Like, that's why I was like, nigga, like, we should, like, we were looking for that nigga. Like, let's stomp this nigga, because it's like, dude, if you're gonna be some, if you go, like, no 1-on-1 on this shit, like, no, we gonna find this nigga, we gonna stomp his ass out, because it's like, nah, dude, like, like, if you're gonna pull some sucky shit, then that's how we gonna treat you, But, like, I gotta realize, like, yeah, we are part of a different generation. You know what I mean? Like we handle things differently. Social media and, like, has just like man, like, and they don't get, like, on some level, like, I got it, like I told you when I got with this other kid, And like I'm looking at this nigga page and it's just all negative videos about like political shit and whatever. I'm like, dog, you telling on yourself. Like you gonna meet a girl and go, oh, let me see a TikTok, and she gonna see this shit and be like, oh, I don't want to deal with this nigga. Like this nigga just angry all the time about stupid political shit. It's like, nigga, that's a turn off. It's like, damn, you don't got nothing positive to say on your damn social media. You can't talk about a
Yeah.
positive thing. Like, oh, hey, here's a good, hey, I had a good day today, and fucking I went and picked some daffodils or some shit. I don't know, nigga. Like, like you just always complaining. So I'm like, damn, dude, like, ain't nobody who's happy talks like this. It's like, and I'm like, nigga, like, it goes right back to what we were saying. Like, dog, you obviously got some trauma you ain't dealt with. And you just, this is how it's coming out. But now I see why a lot of y'all ain't got no ladies or no girlfriends, man. Like, because it's like you just unlikable. So a lot of the women are just like, hey, they'd rather deal with us. You know what I mean? So it's just like I said, dude, like social media. I say it all the time, like it really ain't helping men out a lot, because it's just like yeah, dude, it's turning us into like really unlikable people.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so easy to do it. You know what I mean? Like I remember when I was on TikTok, like when I used to be on there a little bit more heavy, and like that whole controversy about those girls that, like, some girl, I guess she's an influencer. She was taking some pictures of herself at a Houston Rockets game, and like some other girls were like in the background talking shit of the pictures. And she posted it, and they like doxed her. They doxed them other girls. They put their fucking information out.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, and I was like, yeah, I don't feel bad, but it's like, on some level, that's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, now on some level, I was like, nah, it's wrong. Like, I like, but it's like, damn, you put the information out like that, like they didn't deserve that shit. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah,
like,
that's
damn,
way
y'all,
more
like,
fucked up than what they're doing. They're just being annoying little
yeah.
bitches. Like they didn't deserve to have all their business out there like that.
And like at first, yeah, I was just like, yeah, I didn't feel bad. And then like I talked to somebody else about it, and then I dwelled on it, like a different someone on TikTok. And like she was just like, and she pointed out something I never thought of. She was like, they didn't deserve for you. Like, you knew you had that following. And you knew what your following, like the influencer, you knew you had that following. You knew what your following was capable of. Like, you didn't need to put that video up there. You should have just stuck up for yourself and turned around like, bitch, I see you. Like, you got, like, and you got something to say. That's something you should have handled in person.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, bro, you got something to say? Like, or whatnot. And it should have been left at that. But now it went too far. But it's just like, I just use that as an example. It's just like, damn, they're like, y'all went as far as putting these girls fucking, information online, their address and shit. Like, you don't know who the hell's getting a hold of that information and what they're gonna do to these girls and shit like that. And you putting it out there all over because they insulted a stranger. Like an influencer that you happen to follow. So you defended some strangers against another stranger, and it's like, it's weird. You know what I mean? And dudes do it too. Because I got into it with that kid, and like his whole following was coming after me and shit. It's like, damn, nigga, like one kid was just like, because I had stitched a couple of this kid's videos, and then like I was like, man, you been on his dick, and I'm like, no, you're on his dick because you here defending him to me.
Yeah, that
like,
would
I'm
be the
not on his dick.
definition of dick riding.
Yeah, nigga, like you are dick riding this motherfucker right now, over an opinion I have. And I'm like, nigga, like real shit, you know what I mean? So it's just like damn, y'all are like, I was like, dude, I see why. Like, I don't look on none of y'all goddamn profiles and see a picture of you and a girlfriend. Nigga, like, see why. Nigga, like, it's like, it's weird, like, and it's just like, it's just made us unlikable people. But it affects, like I told the kid at the job, like who said he listened to Andrew Tate, and I was like, dude, you got to realize Andrew Tate's philosophy will work for Andrew Tate, not you. Like, he can be a dick. He's a good looking dude with a lot of money and a kickboxer. He can go be the biggest asshole because he can throw them hands.
Yep.
He can talk shit to people because if somebody step up, he gonna whoop their ass. He rich and he good looking. So as much as he is a dick, there's a lot of women who are gonna put up with it. But I'm like, but you, on the other hand, you ain't got none of that. So you can't have his. You working part time here. you know, yeah, he not a bad looking kid, but I'm like, you ain't a kickboxer, you ain't rich, you can't do any of that shit, bro. You know, so it's crazy though, bro. But yeah, man, that awkward silence. Nah, man. But I think, man, I think I really ain't got much to say about
So
this
you want to
topic.
end it right there? You
Yeah, I think, like we said in the first episode, man, smell good, wash between your ass cheeks. Be a good person, man. That's that'll get you further in life than most things, man.
wash your ass. We need that
Wash
as a
your ass.
slogan.
We could, I'm gonna get Trey to put that on the shirt. Like, wash your ass, wash your ass, bro. You know, picture of an ass. Like, nah, nigga, wash your ass. You know, like get up in there, play. It's fine. You know, like clean your ass cheeks. And I do want to say something. It's so weird because like it's so weird, like how much when that came up on Twitter, like you know, before we end, but like that came up on Twitter, and the amount of men who were arguing against that was astounding. Like to me, I thought like, hold on, what? No, you watch free ass cheeks. The amount of men that were in there like arguing against that
That shit is insane.
was crazy as fuck. And then there's like this one girl I follow on TikTok. I actually got her on YouTube now too. But she was sitting here saying like a lot of like real shit about like how to talk to women and how like women find you attractive and shit like that. Like she was talking like, and she was just telling like how we talked about in the first episode, like, hey, or first or second episode, like how women sort of go off like your energy and not per se your physical attractiveness. Not saying they don't go off physical attractiveness, but if you have good energy, that's gonna make you a little bit more attractive. And she was just like, and just the amount of men that were arguing against her on this shit. And I'm just like, look, man, like y'all got to learn to listen. But if you want to know how, you know, like, and also too, how we were saying, like, you know, there's some actually we never did bring up about how hygiene goes more than just how, you know, your body, it goes like your area, like how you keep your living space and shit like that.
Yeah.
And like somebody had brought that up when I was on Twitter and just the amount of men who argued against that. And I'm like, man, like, y'all want to know how ridiculous you sound? Say this shit out loud. Just say it out loud. Like just say, hey, you know, just say call up a girl and be like, hey, you want to come over to my dirty ass room and lay on my fucking sheets that I haven't washed this year?
Yeah.
You know genitals in your mouth that I haven't cleaned today that are right next to my asshole that I never cleaned. That should be fun, right? You know, it sounds ridiculous when you say it like that, but that's exactly what you're asking. You know, when you're just like, oh yeah, you know, like I'll wash through my ass crack. Like you're asking her literally to put your dick in her mouth and you ain't washed your ass crack and shit, you know, or you ain't took a shower before she came over. I'm like, dude, you sound ridiculous. Sometimes you just gotta say that shit out loud. You know, like, well, man, that sounds stupid as fuck. You know, like,
yeah.
because it is dumb as fuck, and a lot of men just fucking don't. You know, like take that shit as serious as it is. So let's just like you know, be a good person, wash your ass, learn a little bit of a sense of humor, learn to interact with people. You'll go far. You'll go far in life because you know you go far. You go further in your career in life with the ladies, with anything, than if you're not that. You know what I mean? So
and
I'm gonna just end it.
self-growth.
Yep.
Learn to look inward.
Mm-hmm.
Stop blaming everybody else for what's going on around you. Take some accountability.
Mm-hmm. Introspective thought processes are extremely important for that shit. You know what I mean? Because yeah, bro. Like, and like Muhammad Ali said, like if you got to grow up. If you think the same way at 30 that you did at 20, then you wasted 10 years of your life. You know, real shit. So
Yep.
let's just end it with that. I mean, hopefully if we get more than 4 views, you know, somebody will pick this up and see this shit and learn something from it, man. Because yeah, that alpha male shit ain't gonna work. That shit's bullshit. It just gets clicks. It just gets likes, man.
Yeah.
It's like looking at that alpha male shit and thinking you're gonna get women is like watching the Fast and Furious and think you're gonna be a mechanic, or watching Law and Order and thinking you're gonna be a lawyer, nigga. Like, you know, like that shit ain't that shit.
Yeah.
That shit, you know. So hopefully this hits. You know what I mean? So, y'all, man, thanks for tuning in to Roasting with Friends, and we got more content
like
coming.
and subscribe if you made it this far.
Yeah,
On our
hit the
fourth
subscribe
podcast,
button.
hit us with a
Hit the
like and a
subscribe
subscribe. I think we got 2 subscribers so far. So
hey, to our 2 subscribers, thank you. We love
let's
you.
see we can double it up to 4.
Tell your friends. Tell a friend. If you got more than one page, subscribe on both.
There you go.
You know, like I said, we're gonna have some merch coming out. You know, it's gonna be easily on easilysidetrack.com. You know, I already got my designs ready. We just gonna start producing it. And we got some actually cool shit. I'm gonna start wearing it on the podcast. I'm gonna get JayMan. We got some Boondock shit we got made. It's pretty dope. And
Nice.
So yeah, man, it's like I said, man, we're just trying to help people, trying to have some fun. We got our series, you know, about my man Sonny coming up. And we just gotta map it out about which stories we gonna tell, you know, to keep my man alive. And like I said, man, we gonna get better with a lot of things. We building it while we flying it. So, you know, but thanks for tuning in. You know, some guy 125, JayMan J. Yeah. Let's hope more than 4 followers. Now we got more episodes, then now we gonna have more episodes to followers. So let's not outpace that. But all right. I'll holla at you.